won't be Johnny on time.
Paul Brady.
And we spent 2 hours talking about it.
I go to Kansas
Getting to see this time.
week after.
Already.
Granola, Kansas, to hunt. So I won't be here.
Quite ready then? Let's sit in this chair, man. You're going to get drunk with power.
Or just get a big prize.
Good evening, everyone. If you're able, please rise for the pledge and followed by the invocation. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Darrell Rice, please.
Let us pray. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity to gather as a community, and we thank you for those who are entrusted with the responsibility of leading and serving the people of Canton. As conversations and decisions are made tonight, we ask in accordance with the prayer that our Lord taught us to pray, Thy kingdom come, Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. And Lord, I'm not real sure how that applies to Canton, and for that reason, I pray blessings upon each council member, the mayor, mayor pro tem, staff, and citizens gathered here tonight. Bless them with wisdom and patience, and give us unity. Grant us clarity and compassion and courage. I pray that Canton will be a place marked by peace and fairness and neighborly love, where every person is treated with dignity and respect. And may the work done here tonight help build a stronger and more united community. Thy kingdom come, Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. So I pray blessings of peace, power, provision, and protection upon every person here in the wonderful name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Call to order the September 4th City Council meeting. Entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Mayor Pro Tem,
Yes, sir.
if you don't mind, if the council's amenable, I would ask that item new business 11A be considered removed. We have an employee, a staff member that was going to do the presentation that unfortunately is out today, so we're going to ask that be deferred to the September 18th agenda.
You got it. All right. Thank you, Mr. Ingram. Next, do we have any guests or visitors?
Got to approve the agenda. We need,
I'm sorry.
make a motion to approve
Yes.
the agenda as
Thank you.
amended.
Second. Motion's approved.
Got to have a vote. You said a motion and a second, now you got to call for a vote.
Yeah, thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Kind of new at this game. The motion passes. Do we have any guests and visitors this evening? I don't think so. Entertain a motion to approve the minutes from August 21st.
Motion to approve the minutes from August 21st.
Second.
Motion's approved. I'm sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
I'll get this, guys. Motion's approved. Next, we have informational items. There are 3 informational items on the agenda. These are just for information, no discussion. So this starts with Mr. Green. Case number RZON 2503-001. Request to rezone property at 100 Cherokee Street from R20 single-family residential to CBD Central Business District. Mr. Green.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, members of council. As Mr. Tolan has stated, this request is to rezone an existing piece of property from R20 to Central Business District. The applicant's letter of intent is to operate a restaurant on this piece of property. Formerly, this was a surveyor's office. It's been vacant for quite some time, as I recall. With his rezoning request, he's also asking for two variances. One is to continue the use of gravel as the driveway and the parking surface, and also to encroach into the required stream buffer. Now, the next item for information is Master Plan 2508-001 and Conditional Use Permit 2508-002. On the agenda, it calls it as 001. That was my mistake in sending up the agenda cover sheet. But this request is a new master plan. As you may recall, this property come before council several years ago with the intent on having some innovative roadway systems, drainage swells, and what have you. And the intent at that time, and what was approved, was 124 living units, 96 single-family homes, and 28 duplex units. The new request is asking for 143 living units, 15 single-family homes, 80 townhomes, and 48 duplex units. With this increased number of homes, two means of ingress-egress will be required, and those are reflected on the submitted site plan. Both of these items will come back before you for the October meeting as a public hearing. And this, the new master plan is not an amendment, but it's a whole new master plan with a different developer than what come before you folks a couple of years ago.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Green. Next, item C, review of the July financial report. Mr. Luckett.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm here to present the July monthly financial report. So we'll start on page 1. This shows you our cash and investments as of July 31st, 2025. So overall, we are at $50.8 million, and that's roughly unchanged from the prior month's financial report. Overall, you can see in the general fund, we're at $7.5 million. That is down by about $1.1 million since the prior month. Our special revenue funds, capital project funds, and enterprise funds are all up compared to our June financial report. Taking a look at page 2, this gets into our general fund. So the top section there are revenues. We have a budget of $24.6 million. In the month of July, we collected $465,000. And year-to-date, we've collected $24.1 million, so that puts us right at 98% of budget in terms of our general fund revenues. We'll point out, we've mentioned before, fines and forfeitures, nothing has changed with that, but just wanted to let you know that, and we'll keep monitoring that. As you go down the page, you get into our expenditures. So overall, July represents about 83% of the fiscal year. So as you go down that far right column, it'll kind of give you a sense of how different departments and functions are doing. We mentioned this last time, but our general government buildings is over budget to make some adjustments to that. As I mentioned before, the primary cause of that deals with the repairs and maintenance associated with our public rain and the roof and water pipes, as well as the elevator here in City Hall. Also point out at the bottom of that page, our Public Works Department, our Streets Division. So they are running a little bit ahead of the target at about 90% through the month of July. Their primary reasons for that deal with repairs and maintenance of equipment, overtime, as well as our contracted expenditures related to downtown streetscapes. Moving on to page 3, so this is still the general fund. So if you take a look at total expenditures, our budget is $19.7 million. For the month of July, we spent $1.7, and year-to-date, we're at $16.2. So you can see we're about right at that target of 82.5%. And then the very last line on that page, our net change in fund balance. So for the month of July, we spent about $1.2 million more collected. Year-to-date, we have collected about $900,000 more than we've spent, and that's part of the plan. So you can see as part of the adopted budget, the budget includes a plan to use about $2.4 million in fund balance. So we're right on target there. Moving on to page 4, this is our water and sewer fund. So revenues are doing well when it comes to our water charges and sewer charges. We are right on target. Total operating expenses for the water and sewer fund, so our budget is $34.1 million. In the month of July, we spent 1.4, and year-to-date, we're at $15.9 million. So we're about 47% of budget. Most of that, so it's a pretty significant variance, positive variance. Most of that's just related to capital projects that were budgeted but have not been fully spent yet. At the bottom of that page, overall, so for the funds, for the month of July, we collected about $435,000 more than we spent. And year-to-date, we have collected about $1.5 million more than we have spent in that fund. So moving on, we can go to page 8. I did want to point out our tax allocation district fund. So we did get our taxes related to the tax allocation district booked in the month of July. That's related to 2024's taxes. So it came in at $196,000. You can see the budget was $195,000, so we were right on target there. You might remember this fund started back in FY 2023, and since that time, this fund has accumulated about $400,000 in revenue. And as you know, those funds are then at some point reinvested back into the district. And we do expect those annual revenues to grow now that the county is participating in that TAD as well. Moving on to page 9, our hotel motel tax fund. Year to date, we have collected $995,000. That's about 14% higher than the prior year. And we are projecting about $1.2 million in hotel tax revenue for the year. On page 10 is our rental car tax fund. We have collected $160,000 year to date. That's about 19% higher than the prior year. And we're projecting about $200,000 for the year as a whole. On page 12 is our impact fee fund. I just wanted to point out here real quick that year to date, we've collected $970,000 in impact fee revenue, and we're right at $400,000 on various capital projects. And then lastly, on page 14, our current SPLOST 8 fund. So SPLOST revenues year to date are at $5.4 million. That's about 8% higher than the prior year at this point. Overall in that fund, we've collected $6.3 million in revenue because that includes also some grant reimbursements. And in that fund, we have spent just over $5 million on capital projects. So that is our July financial report. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you for that great report, Mr. Luckett.
Thank you.
If there are no other questions, we'll move on. I don't believe do we have any other announcements? We have a 10-minute public input. Mr. Thomas Weaver is signed up. Mr. Weaver?
Good afternoon, Mr. Pro Tem, members of council. My name is Thomas Weaver. I reside at 131 Old Marietta Road here in Canton, Georgia, and the comments that I'm going to place tonight reflect only upon myself and no other person or entity anywhere in the city. Thank you for recognizing me to speak, Mr. Pro Tem. Members of council, if it should meet with your approval, later this evening, you are slated to consider an agenda item that I think warrants stricter review. Your city manager's police chief proposes to ask this council for a one-time appropriation of $75,000 to buy into the IAAS system that's currently operated by the Cherokee County Sheriff's Office, with annual appropriations thereafter for continued participation in that program. I, too, am not divorced from reality, and I recognize the tremendous potential of what the Real-Time Crime Center and Information as a Service platform can do to enhance public safety in our community. And I'm not divorced from reality, and I recognize that one of the largest budget expenditures of your annual fiscal budget that you approve annually is our investments that you have with our city police department. I know that you take great pride in equipping them with all of the hardware, software, and technology to be successful. And many sworn operatives within that agency, including our police chief, have thanked you for the investment. However, artificial intelligence especially is something that is noteworthy of stricter scrutiny and should be approached with grave caution. It's a pioneer new technology, and it bristles and teems at the ends with all the possibilities of what it could do. Indeed, researchers have even used artificial intelligence to create new antibiotic drugs that can combat resistant bacteria such as MRSA and other things that these diseases don't have any ability to defend against. That shows the prospect of just what artificial intelligence can do. But I'm concerned that if it's used for the purposes of evil, not to suggest that anyone here would ever do so, or even just innocuously without due care and consideration, that there is a tremendous possibility. In fact, science fiction movies have been warning us for decades of what artificial intelligence could do if it's left to run amok. I will share that in addition to the ethical concerns that I have in regards to the technology, I have raised a legal concern. I won't go into the weeds on that in this quorum in an effort to save face for one of our esteemed decorum in this chamber. However, a legal question has been raised. Indeed, you cannot make up the stuff that they come up with at the state capitol. However, that's being looked into not only by our city, but also by the county. With that aside, I just would ask, I'm looking for a hero on council, a champion for the people, someone who will ask some hard and pointed questions. If you recall, I stood here and warned council of a dystopian Orwellian future with the spider web of eyes that you cast over our parks when you chose to employ the camera technology there. And now we propose to use an artificial intelligence computer, Peregrine. It's AI. It's on the near verge and precipice of being able to think and make decisions for itself. They say half the scientists out there argue sentience is just around the corner. I just think that there needs to be safeguards that are built around it before council just casts a seemingly robotic yes to everything that's run across your table. And indeed, there has been recent op-ed periodicals and editorials in newspapers where there's been a lot of cities and municipalities who have nationwide backed out of the use of these types of databases, Flock and Peregrine and others, because of concerns due to, and I'm not going to get into the politics of it, whether it's immigration or abortion or different things. A lot of people have backed out. I'm not saying it's all negative. I'm not saying it's all bad. There's a lot of good that can come out of it, but there's just not enough adequate safe rails. The budget proposal would start at the start of the fiscal year. So I do think that there's enough time on the board for council to consider giving it a 2-week pause to really contemplate the severity of it. I will conclude by saying that I too acknowledge public safety, and I would want every tool to be at the disposal of our City of Canton Police Department if something should befall and happen to me personally or to one of my loved ones or to anyone here. I would want our law enforcement agency to have every tool at their disposal to be able to apprehend alleged suspect. But at the same time, there are serious, serious concerns that I at least think are noteworthy of added consideration. And again, I'm looking for a champion on council to ask pointed questions and to get hard answers to some things. Indeed, today I fired off a letter to the Georgia Police Chiefs Association asking them to also consider implementing a new standard to regulate this type of technology. I reviewed their entire standards manual, the most recent rendition for 2023. I read the 7th edition, and there's not a single standard in all 9 chapters, spanning 141 pages regulating artificial intelligence. It's loaded with all kinds of stuff about racial profiling, use of force, traffic stops, but it doesn't say a single thing about artificial intelligence. I just think that it's something that needs to really be considered more carefully. So, Mayor Pro Tem, I recognize in conclusion that I do not make decisions here. This mayor and council does. It would just be my hope that added consideration is given before a seemingly robotic yes is awarded. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Weaver, for your comments. Appreciate that. With that, we'll close the 10-minute public input, move on to the consent agenda. I'll read off all 4 items. If there's any one that council would like to remove for further discussion, we can do that. Item A, approval of amendments to the Unified Development Code land use table. Item B, approval of proposed tax amendments to the Unified Development Code regarding design guidelines and standards. Item C, approval of proposed text amendments to the City of Canton Code of Ordinances regarding expiration of certificate of appropriateness. And then item D is approval of request to amend approved master sign plan for Northside Hospital Cherokee. Entertain an opportunity if anyone wants to remove any of those items for discussion or a motion.
If there are no other questions, I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. The consent agenda is approved. Under old business, item A, discussion possible action to approve the articles of incorporation by the bylaws for the Canton Community Land Trust. Mr. Patton?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, council members. I am back before the council requesting consideration to approve the articles of incorporation and the bylaws for the Canton Community Land Trust. You recall, City Council did instruct the staff to move forward in preparation of documents relative to the creation of the Canton Community Land Trust. Staff did work with the City Attorney's Office with the articles of incorporation and the bylaws. Mr. Dyer did propose some amendments and changes to the bylaws, specifically that it would be a 3-member board and the appointments would be for a 3-year period. Any additions to the board would be in groups of 3. Mr. Dyer was okay with all the language in the articles of incorporation. I'm here to answer any questions you might have.
So, Mr. Patton, just to put a finer point on, you mentioned groups of 3, so we would have an initial appointment of 3 or more people, is that correct?
It calls for 3.
Okay. And then those people would roll off, is it a 3-year term?
3-year appointments. If there are additions to the board, that those would be made in a group of 3 additional appointments to the board.
Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Patton?
Can I-
Yep.
All of that is subject to change. I mean, this is just the initial idea, and as we get into it and operate, and we may want 10 people on the board, we can amend the bylaws to do that.
Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Patton or Mr. Dyer?
Go ahead, Sandy.
Ms. McGrew?
Thank you. I'm curious to know that if this 3-person board were to finish their 3-year term, then would 3 new people take position?
That would be up to the City Council to either reappoint members or appoint new members.
My only concern there is you've got 3 original board members, and they're versed in the proper things to do and the laws and all, and then get 3 new board members.
They would be staggered.
They would be staggered. Great, that's what I wanted to know. Thank you.
Any other questions, Mr. Roach?
How are the board members? How are they appointed?
That would be up to the City Council to approve the appointments for the board members.
So those are the details that we were getting hung up on, because ultimately y'all decide that. But at the way it's drafted now, we would just name the first board. There would be an incorporator, and that would be the city manager presumably, and then he would just name them. They could get started, and then we can start looking at how are we going to name successors? I think the way it's drafted right now is the board would select their own successors. But we may not want to do that. I mean, there's all sorts of possibilities. City council names them, city manager names them, the mayor names them. Everybody gets an appointment. Those are things that we need to work out, but I think the effort was to let's just get it filed with the Secretary of State, and then as we operate it, we could make changes.
Well, in my personal opinion, I think that needs to be detailed out before we do anything else. That's just me. Yeah.
Sure. So what would be the pleasure of council? Do you want to name them? I mean, we can change all that before we file it. The bylaws are adopted later. Articles don't name the directors, so the bylaws would say that, so we could file it, get the articles filed, and decide what the bylaws are going to say. But does the council want to be involved in naming that? Do you want it to kind of run independently? How do you want to do that?
I agree with Mr. Roach. I think that, an opportunity to pick the right people should take some time and thought. And I agree that if we can get the bylaws adopted by the state or through the state.
Well, the articles are approved. We'll bring the bylaws back to you in 2 weeks. If you want to have the council name the board of directors, we will make it say that.
Okay.
But the articles will just get it formed,
Yeah.
which is the first step.
And I certainly think council should be involved in that. I personally would like to lean on staff for their expertise in some of those decisions. But yeah, I'd be absolutely fine with that.
So we could have a 7-member board with each of you naming one, and then a 7th picked by somebody, or it can be people from organizations. I mean, that's what we've just been kind of talking, and but it can be decided. If we file the articles, we can make it say whatever you want it to say.
And the staff in the attorney's office did have a conversation relative to the 3 members, as well as the potential for a 7-member board, with each council member making an appointment to that board.
But we don't have to have that in this language now.
No. If you say go forward with the articles, we'll get the articles filed. The corporation will then exist. The bylaws can be approved once the first directors are named. So that's when I said about the incorporator, it's the person. We could just name a board, and that's where we started with just 3, just to get started, because they got to adopt bylaws. And so we could name you as the first directors. I mean, if you want to be in control of it, we'll make the city council the first directors. And then you can decide what the bylaws are going to say.
Mr. Waterman?
I would not be opposed to that, but I would also think that if we are going to be appointing a board, there needs to be some sort of vetting requirement or some kind of criteria for the board. A simple set of an experience, a resume that, we tend to appoint people to boards and, hey, you'd be a good fit here, but are you truly a good fit? I don't know,
Well, we can put that in the bylaws. We can describe it in some way so that there's qualification, or that could just be the way you look at it as you're deciding who your person is.
Is there a way to do a proper interview of possible board members?
Why not?
Well,
You can do whatever you want.
I would say this, if we are the ones that are going to approve, then, it's our due diligence. We're the ones, the due diligence is our responsibility.
Yeah, I agree. I think as long as we adopt some sort of matrix, minimum requirements for admission to the board, that's probably a sound way to handle it. If we do it particularly expeditiously and not drag it out for 3 months, that would be a bonus. But I would agree that's a good route. Mr. Ingham?
Yes, if I may ask a legitimate question. It's not rhetorical, but and when I reviewed the bylaws to some of our other organizations, I noticed that there were appointed individuals at the first, because I would assume we can't appoint members because there's no entity to appoint members to at this time. Is that part of the reason why we'd want to appoint 3 individuals to start with before we
Just to get the bylaws
get the
adopted.
bylaws?
That's, the first step is adopting the bylaws, and that's where all this is going to be. And we could, but if we name you as members of the board, I think we're going to run into public meetings issues, which will be okay at first when you're adopting the bylaws. But going forward and operating, you may not want it to have to be a public meeting every time you, it's a private corporation, I mean, is really what it is. So there doesn't have to be any tie to the city. It can just be people that are out there doing it that you've either named yourself or empowered the staff to name, or described by category, that it's this person from this organization or this person, a representative of the housing authority, a representative of whatever. You got a housing committee already. They could be the board of directors. There's all sorts of possibilities, and I know we hadn't really talked to you about these details, but that's part of us. We didn't know what you wanted, and so this is time to find out. But we can make the bylaws fit however you want it to do.
Okay.
So if we name somebody at first, it may not be what you want, but we got to do that just to get going.
So you're saying we do not have to name somebody first?
We don't have to know how ultimately you're going to want it to work. Somebody's got to adopt the bylaws. If you say, well, we want to do that, the city council wants to adopt the bylaws, then you need to be the directors, or you need to make Mr. Peppers the only director, and you tell him what you want him to do.
I'll go with choice B here, just as my personal choice, just to kind of get things moving, with Mr. Peppers having the authority to at least start with the appointments.
Well, no, I'm saying appoint him. We would just name him
Yes.
as the director, the initial director. We can do that in the articles. Now, he's the director, so he can do the bylaws, and then that's where you can have input. We can make it do the way you want it to do. And then he would adopt the bylaws, and there'd be then elections for office, the new directors.
Why that scenario wouldn't work, y'all?
I'm just uncomfortable with it, so that's just the way I feel about it. So
Okay.
I'd like to have it all concrete. I mean, this is a big thing we're going to try to do here, and I just like to have it all out, knowing what we're going to do before we adopt or do anything, whether it's articles, corporation, or bylaws, or anything else like that. That's just my personal opinion.
So, Mr. Dyer, can this council tonight approve the articles of incorporation without appointing a director or directors?
Yeah, we didn't name directors in the articles, so yes.
Okay.
I mean, but.
I got you.
Go ahead.
Mr. Patton.
Yes, sir. Just so the members of council are aware that, creating the Canton Community Land Trust, part of that board will be an educational process. I have already reached out to a couple of folks that are associated with land trusts in the Metro Atlanta area, as well as someone that's associated with the state organization that provides assistance to land trust in regards to having them come once the board is incorporated and the board is established to conduct some training and education for those board members.
Okay. That's probably a good thing to do. That would be appreciated, Mr. Patton. So do we want to make a motion on this tonight to approve the articles without sitting the board? Does anyone, or do we want to table it until we officially appoint Mr. Peppers, or do we want to appoint Mr. Peppers tonight to lead that?
I do have a question.
Yes, Mr.
Waterman.
Mr. Dyer, you said that we do have the opportunity, or 2 weeks. Does it have to be done tonight?
None of this has to be done tonight. The difficulty is having a group of people decide what the bylaws are going to say.
Understood.
How are we going to do that? Everybody's got a different opinion. How are we going to do it? So I don't know what the process is, but we can make it do whatever a majority of you wants it to do. So if you just adopt the articles, I just reminded myself what it said. There will be no director. So the law is then there's an incorporator. I will make Mr. Peppers the incorporator. So he can name the initial directors at that point. So he will be in control of that. And in the meantime, we can decide what the bylaws and how many directors there are going to be, and are there going to be qualifications, and we can work that out. If you decide that it's not working out, there's no harm done. There's this corporation that we've formed, and it just will not do anything.
Sounds fair enough. So given that, Mr. Dyer, what would you, if we go that route, what would you recommend the motion be?
If you just move to approve the proposed articles of incorporation, that will get us started.
Okay. So given that, any other discussion or motions?
I want to make sure. So say that the articles are approved tonight. We still have time to make the decision as far as who we appoint as director.
Right. So just to explain that more clearly. So what the articles say is they're going to be the number of directors, and their election going to be determined by the bylaws. So the articles do nothing other than say the bylaws are going to spell that out. And so you approve the articles, the bylaws are to be done. If you're wanting to make sure you have control over that, we have Mr. Peppers will be the incorporator of the corporation. So he will name the first directors after you've decided what the bylaws are going to say as to who those directors are going to be and how many they're going to be.
So the motion would be a motion to approve the articles of incorporation and the bylaws.
No, just the articles.
I'm sorry, the articles of incorporation, and appoint Mr. Peppers as the
incorporator.
Incorporator. Makes sense. Mr. Waterman.
Is that what we, I guess, truly want to do right now? I think, honestly, if it's me, I want to wait 2 more weeks till I kind of truly understand this part of it as far as who we're appointing, and if we are, if Mr. Peppers is going to be the one we appoint, do we have any say? For me, I'm in favor of just punting until the next meeting.
Yeah, and if we do that, then the whole package will be done. I mean, we will just adopt it all at once.
Okay.
Because we will have worked out the bylaws to your satisfaction, hopefully.
Sounds good.
That's where I sit.
Okay. I
So
mean,
you
doing
just
it
wanna-
all at once does make sense. If we can,
Well, it does.
we can appoint the board members at the same time.
I mean, ideally, you would decide who the first directors are going to be, and we would include them in the articles. So,
I don't see any reason why we couldn't do that within 2 weeks.
Do we need actual formal action, Mr. Dyer, to defer this to?
yeah, we would go on a motion to postpone it till the next meeting.
Do I have a motion?
Good question.
Oh, go ahead.
Would we need to have a work session before our next meeting to iron some things out?
I think probably discussion with the mayor and the city manager would be the best first step, maybe? Just kind of thinking through it.
Well, I will say, I mean, one of the difficulties we have, we're trying to guess what you wanted. And so I don't know whether you do it by emails but if everybody wants to have the city council pick the directors, that's easy. We'll do that. We can just say that. And then you either go ahead and pick somebody, or we just have the bylaws say that's what's going to happen. So, but if we're going to go some other direction, then we need to hash that out.
Excuse So, Mr. Patton, you mentioned that you have some, I guess, data or some guidance from other areas that have experience with land trusts. As far as who is appointed, the backgrounds, I think if you're able to provide that, some examples, I think that would be at least helpful to me.
The types of individuals?
Yeah, what their backgrounds.
Most of the land trust that I'm aware of and the board makeup includes usually an attorney, a real estate person, or the two that I'm familiar with. The rest of the board are citizen volunteers, if you will.
I mean, we have to keep in mind that we're creating this for a particular purpose. These land trusts are used for conservation, people donating land to preserve it from development. So that's a use of them, and ours sort of talks about that as well. But we're doing it to provide affordable housing. So keep that in mind as you're thinking about who's going to be on the board.
Okay. Very good. So given that,
I had one
Mr.
comment,
Miller.
and it mirrors what Dwayne was saying, is I would like to, in the meantime, get some recommendations of who the members of staff would think would make good initial board members, or even just, like he was saying, somebody from real estate and somebody, just some general guidelines that would help us as we're trying to decide how we want this to structure. And I just think that would be helpful as we deliberate this, if we, in the meantime, could get some staff recommendations.
Yes. I mean, there's a lot of things that we do that we lean on staff for their recommendations, and I think this is a great example. And, you know, we're talking 2 weeks here, guys. It's not a big amount of time.
Is 2 weeks enough time, though? I mean, that's my, I mean, if you're going to evaluate individuals for potential board members, I mean, and you're going to get recommendations and you're going to get resumes, how do you do that in 2 weeks? I mean, I think, again, this is a big project. I want it to be the details, all the details out in the open so we know what we're dealing with. I mean, we've talked about the land trust. We have not really dove into the bylaws and the articles of incorporation, and I just feel like that's very important. I mean, where we almost need to have, you know, kind of like what Ms. Bruce said, you know, do we have, you know, meetings or some, you know, just something like that, maybe even some public participation type stuff. That's all it's a big thing. I want to do it right. I don't want to have to amend, you know, I want a good board if that's the route we take, whether it's 3 or 7, but I mean, I feel like this is something we need to, I mean, we've waited this long. I mean, you know, a little bit more time, I think, is.
And if in 2 weeks we come back and say, you know, we're not ready, then we can always add more time.
Yeah, I guess my only comment is we do, staff has we have the luxury of staff having relationships with a lot of people that would probably check the boxes that we're talking about. And we may get it done in 2 weeks. I'm certainly not opposed to, you know, tomorrow morning or Monday talking to Mr. Patton or talking to other staff members that might have some ideas of folks and, you know, running a trial balloon to see if this individual is the right person. I have a feeling that through staff's help that we should be able to fairly easily and quickly identify, because we already know these people that would be well-suited for this board. So I don't think it's going to be a large, extended, arduous process where we're going to need, you know, weeks and weeks to vet people. I think we already know those people, or staff knows those people. So I'm always in favor of moving expeditiously but intelligently forward as we possibly can. So with that said, I'll entertain. Does anyone have a motion?
I will make a motion to table this item until the next meeting.
Okay. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. We will revisit this in a couple of weeks.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, if I might, I will send all of the council members an email tomorrow, and I will ask you to provide your input on what you want to see in the bylaws.
Thank you, sir.
That's going to help tremendously as the attorney and I work to get the bylaws set up the way that the city council wants them to be set up.
Sounds good. Thank you, sir. Appreciate your work on this so far. Okay, item B, moving on. Discussion and possible action on the intergovernmental agreement between the City of Canton and Cherokee County Sheriff's Office for the Intelligence as a Service software platform.
Good evening,
Chief.
Mayor excuse Lord. Good evening, Council. I appreciate the opportunity to come speak to you tonight. Last month, I came to you and talked about the intergovernmental agreement between the City of Canton and the Cherokee County Sheriff's Office, the benefits of that, and I want to give you the opportunity to ask any questions today that you might have regarding the platforms or anything at all. I'll be happy to answer any questions for you.
Chief, I know that this item has been vetted by you and your department, and your recommendation, I believe, is to move forward. I understand Mr. Weaver's concerns. You know, AI is new to all of us. We have to make sure that decisions that we as a municipality are making are in the best interest of our city and our citizens, and we're very aware of that and sensitive to that, and I'm sure your department is as well, Chief. But you know, AI is here to stay. It's a new part of our reality, and you know, certainly there will be bumps in the road, errors along the way. But you know, we're all smart people. We can work our way through some of these issues and take corrective actions if necessary. Any questions, comments about this item? Mr. Johnson? Oops, I'm sorry.
He had his hand up first.
So Chief, in thinking about this, and we did get the comments from Mr. Weaver, and I certainly appreciate those comments because it brought upon more conversation. So I reached out to another police chief. It was Chief Reuben Greenberg that retired in 2005 down in Charleston, along with Lieutenant Charles Hawkins, who retired in 2010. And basically, I just wanted to get feedback from someone, you know, outside of the area. I shared the concerns because I too had questions, and there, you know, the overall consensus was, do the risk of this software being abused outweigh the benefits of the program? And he did remind me of an incident we had a few years ago with that spa shooting. Now, granted, that wasn't Canton, but that was still Cherokee County. So my question to them and you is, number one, who polices the police in a sense of this software? How is it monitored? Are there routine spot checks to make sure it's not being abused? And secondly, in the case like that spa shooting that happened a few years ago, how would the city have benefited from having that software? And I'm sorry, that's a lot at one time.
That's a big question, and I'll try to answer the best I can. So if I miss something, please remind me. I would say that, first of all, as Mr. Tolan mentioned, artificial intelligence is here to stay. You book a flight on Delta, artificial intelligence is finding the flight for you. It's in our everyday lives every single day. The biggest piece of this that uses artificial intelligence is the Paragon system. And basically what it's doing is it's taking all the data that we have in our records management system and our CAD system, and if I ask it to tell me how many calls for service have been in Laurel Canyon in the past 12 months, within just a few seconds, it can tell me how many calls were there. In a few more seconds, I can ask it to tell me what type of calls, what streets, where am I having a problem in, say, Laurel Canyon or River Green or Great Sky, you know, any complexes you ask about. So I can use that data to augment our patrol forces, almost predictive policing of these are some problem areas, so I can look at the data and go, hey, I need to have more patrols in this area to police this area during these times of day, these days of the week, and use that resource to our benefit to keep the crime down in the city of Canton. So as far as the SPAR shooting would go, it's been a combination of different platforms to help solve that crime. The first one would be license plate readers, or as commonly known today, flock cameras. And those flock cameras or different license plate readers tracked that subject's car from where this incident started in Cherokee County down to Atlanta, down past Atlanta, south of Atlanta. It was being tracked through a flock camera systems. And so all these things were working together. All the law enforcement agencies were working together, feeding information through different real-time crime centers and relaying that information in order to capture the suspect who killed those people in that shooting. So it's a huge tool for us. The camera systems are a big tool for everyday type policing where stolen vehicles are concerned, or people who are wanted, gang members who are on what's called a hot list that we put in the flock, stolen cars, things like that. We're not looking for insurance violations or expired tags or things such as that. These are real crimes that we load into the flock system. Totally different. There's no artificial intelligence in the flock system. It just feeds data to something and alerts us when the car's something's in progress with a car that we're looking for, or that type of thing. It doesn't record any images. It does record, but it's not giving us any images unless we had a crime with a flock camera, we could capture that image and use that to try to determine who the suspect was with a crime through the flock cameras. But Peregrine really is just a clearinghouse for all of our records. And when we centralize those records, it makes it easy for law enforcement across the land to help us establish crime patterns, look for suspects that have general same motives of operation. They do the same things. It helps us locate and find those type of people that we're looking for. But again, the biggest piece for law enforcement for the Peregrine system is the collection of data to use for analytics, to use for predictive policing, to use for stat generation. If when you call and ask me about something in an apartment complex, I can rapidly get that information to you. So that's how that system works. But artificial intelligence, I don't want anyone to be afraid of that because it's in our everyday lives now. We're using it through this system just for data collection and data collation. It's a repository, and the system rapidly gives us the information we're looking for in a very concise method to help us solve crime and to go places that we need to go that we think crimes might occur.
Okay.
And I don't know if I answered your entire question.
I guess in the second part of that question, and thank you for that feedback, and kind of their overall consensus was they wish they had that 20 years ago because they didn't have it.
I do too.
And the thought process was we're kind of behind the times if we don't have it, as more departments will be adopting that. Who will monitor that? How is that monitored? Will everyone have access, or is it just?
Well, it's an interesting question when you say who monitors it. It's run by the Cherokee County Sheriff's Department through their intelligence center. And they have command level staff in there that runs that data. For example, if I called over and said, I want to run Billy Peppers, and they're going to say, what's your case number, Chief? And I'm going to say, I don't have a case number. I just want to know more about Mr. Peppers. They're not going to run that. They're going to contact Billy. Since I'm the chief, they'll contact the next level up and say, hey, this chief's calling wanting to get this information. Is this valid? So there's a checks and balances there. And what's unique about using a third-party vendor, we're going to be a customer for them. What's unique about the third-party vendor is we're going to have checks and balances in our house at Canton PD, and they're going to have checks and balances at Cherokee SO, and those things better match up. That we have a case number, we have a legitimate purpose to investigate someone or to use these platforms to solve a crime. So if it was just ours alone, someone could probably easily go in and start manipulating the system, but now we have checks and balances for that. So it's really, in my opinion, it's really a benefit to keep us in check because we're checking each other. And what's really good about this is that I can request an audit every day, every week, every 30 days. I can have Lindsay send me out an audit sheet that says what's been asked for the last 10 days. She can rapidly send me that. I can give it to my CID commander. He can now match it up with case numbers and investigative reports that we're working on and see, do these match up? And if they do, everything's fine. If something's wrong, we can catch it right then. An example of how accurate we are with our work, we've been audited over the past, every 3 years we get audited by GCIC. We've had 2 times that someone used the system nefariously. Both times they were terminated immediately, and it was caught in the audit for that. So this is going to be audited even more frequently than our Criminal Information Center audits it. They do it every 3 years. This can be done, like I said, daily, weekly, monthly, whatever we see is the volume of work coming through. Lots of checks and balances to ensure that no one misuses the system.
Awesome, and thank you so much, Chief. And by no way was I, in my questioning, insinuating that you guys are doing anything nefarious. You guys are doing a fine job. But thank you so much for those remarks.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it. And I do know Chief Greenberg from many years back, and I agree with him. I wish we had had this when I started policing in 1990. It would have been much more efficient, effective, and professional. EEP. Yeah, so.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions, comments? Ms. McGrew?
Thank you. Hi. Few questions. You said there was audit of the data and the system. When you do these audits, can you tell if someone is logged into the system to check data?
Yes, we won't actually be logging into it ourselves. We will send the request through our system to the Cherokee County Sheriff's Office, to the Intelligence Center. At that point, they will then log everything, every call, every request, everything is logged for them. I went there this morning to go over the whole system with them and make sure that there was anything I didn't know about that I needed to correct. So they log everything, and our system, their system's going to let us know when we've asked for something. We'll be able to audit that with our case files to ensure that they link up. So if we've got a crime on Riverstone Parkway, and it's case number 1, 2, 3, 4, they'll call the crime center and say, we're working this case, here's the case number. They'll log it all in, and when we do the audit, we'll match up our police report with that audit to log to make sure that each thing is in sync. And it's not like we're going to have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of uses that we're going to call them every day, many times a day. We don't have that volume of crime in Canton, and it's going to remain that way as far as I'm concerned. But if we did, we will make provisions to audit each one of them to ensure there's no misuse of it.
How long is the data kept?
That's another good question. It varies depending on what type of case it is. Some cases we can keep as long as 50 years or longer. If it's a homicide or some type of sexual assault or child crimes, we can keep those things. Others we can keep for a year. The state has mandatory minimum times for various types of cases, different kinds of crimes, various retention policies. Right now in the city of Canton, we go past that minimum on just keeping data in our police reports and those type of things in our system. We keep that because you never know what you're going to need down the road. But again, it's data that their data, from what they were telling me today, they keep for up to 5 years, but they audit annually to see if there's any other crime nexus involved with the data they're holding. If there's not, they'll discard it after that 12-month period.
And a third party does this audit?
No, that would be for us it's a third party because the Cherokee County Sheriff on their end that's doing the audit of their books to make sure that they're in compliance with their policies.
So this system already exists in the county, and we would be piggybacking onto it, so to speak. Would this involve extra equipment being installed in Canton?
No, ma'am. Everything is going through the Cherokee County Sheriff's Office.
Is it already installed?
At Cherokee County? Yes, ma'am. They've been using it for a long time now.
Okay. Who would have access to the data?
Anyone who has a reason to access the data. So it depends on the case. Like, for example, if we have a case that is, we call it's been adjudicated, or we've closed the case, and the case is closed in our world, that becomes open records that anyone can call and say, hey, I want this report and all the data that goes with it. Body camera footage, dash cam footage, they can do that. Once it's closed, if the case is open and we're still investigating it, it may take 2 or 3 years before something actually breaks where we have a closure of a case. Then the only thing a person can get through open records would be the initial report we took. It basically says, I responded to 1 through 3 Riverstone Parkway and met with the complainant. And so they get very little information out of that.
May I assume that there are going to be super strong firewalls to protect the data?
I can guarantee that we were not going to let, again, I can't promise you that somebody's not going to hack into our systems. I mean, many businesses get hacked, but they take precautions through their RMS, through their ITs, to ensure it doesn't get broken into.
And this data, I assume, could it be subpoenaed by another government from another state?
With reason, they could subpoena it. Again, you have to have your ducks in a row, search warrants, probable cause to get the subpoenas, those type of things to be able to get data from us. So, like, for example, through the Cellbrite system, like your phone, if we impounded your phone for an arrest and we wanted to get into your phone to get your data off of it, we'd have to have a search warrant to get that. We'd have to have probable cause to get the search warrant to get into your phone. We'd have to tell a judge, this is why we need this, this is why it's important. The judge could approve it or deny it. If he denies it, we can't use it. If you give me consent to get into your phone, then through consent, we can do the same thing. But it'd be written consent, a signed form saying you're okay to get into my phone. Here you go, Chief. But anyone through a subpoena or through a search warrant could access the data, but that would be a law enforcement function. A private citizen, to make it easier, could not get a search warrant for anything.
Right.
It has to be through law enforcement.
But that's true with the records you already have, right?
Right.
I mean,
It's true. Yes, it's true of the records
Nothing's
now.
changing about that.
Nothing's changing. Yeah, you could do that today at Canton. You can walk in and say, I want every report that Marty Farrell's generated in the system, and they would pull every single one of them for you through open records, and we would give it to them.
Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Yon?
This system that we're tying into houses in Cherokee, it's limited to Cherokee. Does it interface with Fulton or Cobb or anybody, or do they have to go request, like you request for Cherokee, Cherokee has requests from Cobb?
That's correct.
And vice versa?
Yes, sir. Yeah, we're working right now actively to consolidate Cherokee County so we can all interface and work under the same system and look for the same criminals. Because as I stated a couple of weeks ago when I spoke to you, they don't know if they're in Holly Springs or Woodstock or Canton or out in unincorporated Cherokee County. Folks that commit crime don't really care where they are. The better we work together with our systems, the quicker we can find people, arrest them, get them off the streets. And so it really is right now a Cherokee County initiative for all of us. Ultimately, should y'all approve this tonight, for all the cities to be linked in together so we can communicate together. And if we need something from Cobb PD or we need something from Pickens County, we will go through the sources to get whatever information we need from them.
But it would be an audit trail of you getting something from Pickens, for example.
Yes, sir. We all have the same basic rules. We're state certified agencies, CALEA certified agencies, so there are standards and policies. We have actually 3 policies here that cover the use of the data and how you can get it, what you can and can't do to protect it. And again, the 2 that committed some wrongdoing under GCIC, they were terminated immediately. And it's very serious stuff that we're dealing with as far as accessing data you shouldn't access.
Chief, I have one more. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay, so I think there is an issue with, or comments and concerns about governance and access, okay? So, Chief, I read contracts all day long. So, the agreement, which was written well, access and use, and I'm just going to read it. The county shall provide the city with login credentials and technical access to the IAAS where applicable. City shall be responsible for confirming that city has appropriate information technology services in place to utilize and access the IAAS at the city's sold cost. City further agrees that access to such systems shall be limited to authorized personnel of the city's police department, who shall be subject to the same policies, training, and restrictions as county users. City also agrees to connect city's report management system data to the Peregrine system maintained by the county in order for such data to utilize via the IAAS system by each department. County and city agree to abide by all applicable federal, state, and local laws governing the use, sharing, and security of data access via the IAAS, and each party shall be responsible for the actions of its personnel and shall ensure proper oversight and data use compliance. That encapsulates everything, correct? That we've been talking about for the last 15 minutes.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay.
Mr. Roach?
I just want to say something because I'm the only one that hasn't. Chief, is this software going to help your department keep Canton safe or keep them safer?
100%. I assure you, Mr. Roach, I would not stand before you if I felt like it wasn't going to make us better, faster, stronger, like the Bionic Man. I'm telling you now, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't waste your time or my time. I believe this is an important initiative, and I believe it's going to make us, again, one of the safest cities in the whole world by having access to some of these data. It's going to continue to keep us safe.
Thank you.
Sure.
With that, we'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion. In regards to old business, item B on the intergovernmental agreement between the City of Canton and Cherokee County Sheriff's Office for the Intelligence as a Service, IAAS software platforms, I would like to make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. The motion carries.
Mayor, Council, thank y'all so much. I appreciate you. And if you ever have any question about anything that we're doing or not doing, I'm a phone call away.
Chief, one follow-on comment, if I may.
Yes, sir.
With all of the discussion tonight, can you make a mental note, since this has passed, say a year from now, to look back on some of these questions and give us a report, not necessarily a full audit, but a report on what your department's experience has been relative to some of the concerns that have been raised tonight? I think that would be very helpful.
Yes, sir, of course. I'll be happy to do that, and I can actually include that in our annual report, too, to show you the usage of it, because I want us to have value in what we're doing. If it's not valuable to us, then we'll step back. So I'll certainly be able to do that.
Super proud of the work that you guys are doing, and I don't need to remind everybody that Canton has been deemed the top 5% safest cities in the country. So tools like this hopefully will help us
Yes, sir.
increase or stay the same or even get better. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you.
Okay, item C, discussion of possible action on the award of the Canton Creek Pedestrian Bridge and Sidewalk Improvement Project to Excelir, Construction LLC in the amount of $1,034,700. Ms. Watson.
Thank you. As we discussed at the last meeting, we received 12 bids for this project, with Excelir Construction LLC being the low bidder. I have done additional research on the firm, and they have excellent reviews from everyone that I talked to, so I'm excited to work with them, and I'll be happy to take any questions.
Ms. Watson, without pinning you down, how many different organizations would you say you've spoken with as far as reference go?
Cherokee County, Roswell, and there was one other, so 3 total.
Okay.
Not including the one that is part of the consultant team on the engineering side that has worked with them as well.
Okay.
Yep.
Very good. Questions from Ms. Watson? We've talked about this a fair amount. Mr. Roach?
I'll make a motion if there's no questions. That's good with you guys. I make a motion to award the Canton Creek Pedestrian Bridge and Sidewalk Improvement Project to Excelir Construction in the amount of $1,034,700.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion carries.
We need to make any that we note his absence. Yep.
Moving on to new business, discussion of proposed new ordinance under Chapter 42. I'm sorry? I'm sorry? We did, that's right, you're right. That's making sure you're paying attention, Ms. Fortner. Another rookie mistake, here we go. Item B, discussion of street acceptance for city maintenance of streets in Preserve at Canyon Ridge, Phase 1. Ms. Watson.
Thank you. After a very long time, Preserve at Canyon Ridge Phase 1 is finally ready to be accepted for city maintenance. It was paved a few weeks back, and it looks great now. So I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from Ms. Watson?
It's just discussion.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you, Ms. Watson.
Thank you.
Item C, discussion resolution to authorize the issuance of a revenue bond for the renovation and rehabilitation of the downtown fire station. Mr. Ingram.
Yeah. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, Council. If you don't mind be sitting here. I would appreciate it. We're in a joint project, as the council and the community is aware, to rehab the old downtown fire station. In doing so, we're going to require to use some financing. Now, this financing is going to be paid for by fire impact fees, future fire impact fees. What you have in front of you tonight is a resolution that will authorize us to go to the market to obtain that financing. If you'll recall, the project's going to cost approximately $6 million. We have a little bit over $2 million in past fire impact fees to start the project, but we'll need financing for about $3.5 to $4 million. We're not asking for action tonight. At your next meeting, we're going to have our financial advisors with Davenport & Company. He's going to be here, and he's going to do a little bit more explaining and give us some options to look at, and we'll ask for approval of that resolution for financing in 2 weeks.
2 weeks after that?
No, 2 weeks from
now.
today. And
Okay.
that was one of the reasons I wanted to get this in front of council, so that y'all would be comfortable in approving that resolution in 2 weeks.
Okay. Very good. Questions for
I
Mr. Ingram?
have one question.
Yep.
I know it's our property, we own it. Cherokee County uses it. And apologize if I don't know, I forgot. Do we charge rent? What is for their use of our
No.
building?
We do not charge rent.
Okay.
We will continue to own it, but we'll enter into, and we have entered into an intergovernmental agreement for the lease of that property.
And Mr. Ingram, are those types of arrangements fairly common between municipalities and fire departments?
And fire departments, yes, especially, when we're outsourcing, effectively engaging the county to provide those services, yes. On that note, I would like to bring to council's attention that right now the property is owned by the Downtown Development Authority. So you will also see in a couple of weeks, and the financial advisor will discuss this, talk about this, but you will see that we are needing to transfer the ownership and the responsibilities of that property to the Canton Building Authority. And the financial advisor will explain the reasoning behind that in a couple of weeks.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Ingram.
Thank you.
Is there a assistant city manager's report this evening, sir?
No, Mayor Pro Tem. Thank you.
Okay. Any council introduced items tonight? Nope. Mayor's not here, so he can't give a report. I would like to make a motion or entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Second? Okay. We are adjourned.
We didn't vote.
Oh, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We are adjourned.